My name is Itumeleng Mukitlane from 88 Productions, a small independent record label. I run with a dear friend of mine, DJ Kent, and been doing it for over 20 years now in the game. And then, yeah, that's just my background and what I do. I'm the label manager there, and I also manage him as my artist. So I guess that's why they felt I'm also the right person to come and moderate this panel here. We are talking about the challenges DJs and producers face in the live event and production space. So the reason why I want them to tell us when they started, because I see there might be some ancient guys here who used to play with cassettes. So we need to know how that has changed from then to now, and we will take it from there. Thanks.
My name is DJ Teedo. I started playing, I'm a dancehall, hip-hop, reggae DJ. Started playing 12 years ago when vinyls were coming out and CDs were coming in. So yes, I started playing with a DVD on one side and a CDJ on the other side, and then those double barrel CDJs that would jam up sometimes. But yeah, I've experienced a lot of things, but this is basically the introduction, so I'll let the guys introduce themselves and then we can continue from there with the technicalities.
Okay. Hi everybody, my name is Culoe De Song. My stage name is Culoe De Song. I'm also one of those DJs that started in the game with instant challenges. I missed the vinyl era, unfortunately, back in 2007. But yeah, I'm a DJ producer. I've managed to make a name for myself at home and abroad. And yeah, I think that just sums up my story.
Hi guys, my name is Themba Nkosi, also known as Euphonik. I started DJing when I was 14, which was in 1998.
Cassette.
And basically, like how I started DJing is I used to collect all forms of music from what my parents were listening to, which was jazz, soul, to what my friends in the townships were listening to, which was kwaito, and international, which was called house music, to what my friends at school were listening to, which is like techno, acid, and house music. So yeah, I started DJing when I was 14, CDs, cassettes, vinyl, and moved over to Serato when the digital age started coming through, and then moved back to CDs, and now currently playing on USB sticks. So basically what happened is that like the first ever show that I did was by pure chance. So I was just known at school as a guy that collects music and had a lot of music. I didn't know the concept of DJing or what DJing was about. And then a friend of mine said I must come DJ at his sister's birthday party, which at the time was literally like there was no mixing desk involved. It was just, I brought a tape deck and I brought a CD player or whatever I could bring and a vinyl player, and I was literally pressing play, stop, pressing play, stop, pressing play, stop. So it wasn't even mixing at the time. It was just playing the music.
So you brought your own technical equipment?
Yeah. What I did is that I used to borrow the sound system from that my dad used to have at home. So I'd take that with me to the shows and use that to DJ. So at the time it was like I was 14, it was house parties, you know?
Yeah.
Just like gatherings with like 14, 15-year-olds. So it wasn't big productions. And then the first big production I actually did was a school disco. Okay. At the school. There they brought in all the tech and brought in all the equipment. Yeah.
Was it still vinyl and cassette at the time?
It was vinyl. Yeah, it was vinyl. It was vinyl.
Oh, so you had already now moved from the
No,
cassette.
it was just the equipment that was provided.
Or they were ahead of their time.
So the music that I had on vinyl and on CD, I could on cassette and CD I didn't or couldn't play.
Okay, and then from there on, how old are you now? If you can remember.
I'm 34.
No, I'm not saying now. I'm saying at the time when you're playing now at the school social? Are you still 14 or it's a couple of years later?
So it's a couple of years later. I don't really remember how old exactly, but yeah.
And then you moved from the vinyl, where then Culoe and Teedo joined you with the CDs. What were the challenges that you caught at that time? Because me, from the background that I come from, it was vinyl days, and obviously you'd have to go to a House Africa, you had to go to a Soul Candy, retro music, and you could only wait there and get one of 10 copies in that whole period. And you're like, yeah, I'm one of the best, I'm one of the greatest, I've got the song.
Yeah.
So now you're moving on to CD, and you can burn CDs. What now? How was the change? How did that transition happen? And
So basically, I think it was more out of necessity that I moved from vinyl to CD. Number one, you've got the challenge of not being able to afford vinyl as and when it comes. Two, they're bringing in limited quantities of vinyl, so you can't get some of the songs. Like you said, they'll bring in 10. Three, back in the day, at that time, every DJ's unique selling point was the music that they had. So if a DJ had one of the 10 vinyls, then people knew that, like, if you wanted to listen to these songs, only those guys have them, or only those guys. So as an up-and-coming DJ back then, I started producing more out of necessity than because it was fun. So what are you going to do to stand out? You're going to have to make your own songs so that you have your own songs to play out. And I think I stand to be corrected, right? I think the whole Euphonik era at the time, like, is what pioneered the bedroom DJ and bedroom producer movement to, like, really, like, take off, because it showed the next kid that, like, you can actually make your own music, give it to Fresh, and Fresh will play it on the radio. So if those two guys can, why can't anyone else in the world do it?
And then how was the communication back then? Because right now, maybe they can find you on your Facebook, Twitter page, Instagram. So when they wanted to book you, because obviously this live event thing is a supply chain. I mean, you have promoters, you have the venues, you have the actual event management companies. And it's easy now for them to get hold of you. Back then, how did they do it?
So, hey man, back then it was literally on the phone. Like, we didn't have smartphones, so I was getting booked via phone calls and SMSs, and following up via SMS, and we didn't even have, F&B didn't even have in contact, so you had to drive to the bank to go and check that the guy had deposited your money, you know? So, so yeah, those were the challenges of the time, you know, and not even email addresses. This is talking like 2000 and, like, okay, so I started playing at Who's Who in 2003. So like 2003, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7, that's when, like, technology really, I started really incorporating technology into what I do.
Teedo, you also had a bit of a stint with, you said, vinyl, DVD. How was it at that time for you to actually collect the music and play? Because when you're saying DVD, I'm thinking, how did that even work?
So like Euphonik said, it was a stop and play situation, because you can't even queue. Or if you try to queue, you'd have to cram. It's okay, once I put it there, I can't press it even by mistake, because I'm going to mess it up, and I'm going to have to just slowly, gradually take out the other song and put in the next song. So that's how I started learning mixing, in essence. And I was actually taught to play by a house DJ, irrespective of the genre that I play. Collecting music was, you basically had to know the DJs in your hood that have your music and be friends with them, otherwise you'll be stuck.
Ooh.
Because it was that era where you couldn't access the internet as freely as you wanted. Even if you could, you don't know which sites to go to, because it's Jamaican music, and South Africans are all up in here with "Let Me Love You" in your house. And you are like, I want to be, tell them, and they're like, that music doesn't even make sense, girl, what are you doing?
I get you.
And then with hip-hop, I was more of an old school cat, So I used to play Onyx, I used to play Dead Prez, I used to play
Another
Chief
ancient one
Comanche.
here.
I used to play Chief Comanche, and that music was also dying out because which era was it? I think I'm trying to remember. Slim Shady, Eminem
Okay.
was coming in, but Eminem mixtapes were still dope. I mean, Slim Shady was still dope. When Eminem started coming in, Dead Prez was falling away, Onyx was falling away. So it became a bit harder. Now you have to introduce yourselves to a new generation of bomb rapper. And now I had to sag my pants, had to wear the big baggy t-shirts, had to wear the skull cap. And my mom would be like, what kind of girl are you? And I'm like, I'm a DJ. And my mom is a musician, so she kind of let me be a DJ. I started in grade 11,
Okay.
and I remember I went to Soli Vista the first time when I started, and I was like, dude, please be my mentor. And he was like, so you must go home right now and tell your mom that you'll be a security guard, so manching ilan, because every night, every weekend, you have to be with me, DJing somewhere, and you have to practice. And I was like, okay. So I got home, I was like, so I want to be a DJ. And my mom was like, okay. And she took me aback because I used to hear my peers saying, yo, my mom won't let me be a DJ, my mom won't let me do this, my dad won't let me do this. And I got home and they were like, yeah, it's cool. As long as you pass, we're going to kill you. So I compromised my 21st birthday, didn't get a 21st birthday, because they were like, you gave yourself a key and you were 16. What other key do you want? So
For those that don't
technically, yeah.
understand the key and the 21st, you know? When you're 21, we get keys to roam around and do whatever you want. You know?
Yeah. So the technical challenges obviously back then were playing with a DVD, not having a monitor. So you basically had to learn. Sometimes you'd get to a gig, there's no headphones. And you'd have to kind of like figure out how you're gonna mix and make it work.
So you didn't buy your own headphones?
Yeah, I was those
Okay.
DJs once upon a time. Now I look at them like, what kind of DJ are you? Where are your headphones?
Okay. So I guess now we are on the level where everyone is playing on CDs. Culoe, how did you, because like you say, you missed that vinyl stage, and it means you started straight away on CDs. For you, were there any challenges getting into that space? Because if I'm not mistaken, you came in as a producer.
Well, that's the thing. I learned how to mix using vinyl.
Oh.
Yeah. So moving forward, the frequencies and the textures from the sound that comes from vinyl inspired me to produce. You know, so it was like a step-by-step kind of thing. You know, like I would go with my mentor at the time, which was DJ Kabila. I used to carry his bags when he was playing in clubs around Durban. And he used to play his sound with vinyl, you know, so all the shows, I used to just come out inspired by the music I hear because of the way it sounded. It definitely sounded different from the tracks that came out of CDs. Yes. And so that's when I was inspired to produce. I was like, okay, cool, I want to produce like fat sounding beats that will get people spiritually elevated or dance, you know, at the time. So it's, yeah, I think in terms of the technicalities, you know, they all played a role in different ways.
So you never had a problem with collection of music?
No, I never really had a problem with collections of music. Well, first of all, I used to have friends that came in with different USBs. They had like
USBs that time?
Yeah, they had USBs. I mean, M2000 was it 2007? USBs, MP3s, and all that. So they always have like these folders of different kinds of music, obviously pirated. You know, it was that era. We didn't have the resources to access all the music that was out there. You know, so yeah.
And then in terms of you as well, starting out, like I asked Euphonik, how did you market yourself at that time?
That's the thing. The production worked as a marketing tool.
Okay.
You know, somewhere, somehow, I used to produce tracks. I would give them to Kabila to go play at nightclubs. And he's a childhood friend of Black Coffee at the time, and he used to give him the tracks, and Coffee would play the tracks in his gigs wherever he went. And that's how this name or this kid, Culoe De Song, made his name on the surface. You know, a lot of the people from places like Pretoria or Joburg, you know, that's how they discovered my music. Only then later it was discovered, oh, he can also DJ, you know, so it worked as a marketing tool, you know, and yeah, and also I used to combine it with social media pages, not Facebook, but MySpace. They used to be myspace.com. At the time, I used to put up my tracks there, and funny enough, MySpace was probably the first platform to market me by default internationally. And that's how I started creating a little network of international friends. And then that's how I just sort of like spread my music all over.
The other reason I'm asking about the marketing of yourselves is I want to find out how the interaction with the event organizers were. What were those challenges like? Because now you've done all the work and you need to go to a gig, and now what happens now?
Yeah. I mean, the DJing industry is a very staunch industry, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people know that. So there was that challenge, you know, where I knew the skill. I had the skill of DJing, you know, but now I needed to develop other intangible skills of earning respect, you know, from like the DJing industry. Because as you said, you know, people looked at me at the time as, oh, you're just a producer, you know, so for you to play, it was almost like you need to make your name in a different section of the game, which is DJing, and it takes a little bit more than just pressing play to earn that. So it was, I might say, it was a little bit of a big challenge, and I always say DJing is a craft. You know, for me, I've always looked at it as a craft. You know, you take the energy up and down in the room. You know, it's a skill that you develop over time, and it took me to just go gig by gig and just playing different kinds of music and see how the people react, building a reaction, building a relationship between you and the people, you and the crowd, you know. So for me, that was the next step, and yeah, I think I just worked on those intangible commodities and over time, and that's how I made my name in the DJing game.
And you, Teedo?
It was a bit more of a challenge for me as a female, because one, when you ask for a gig and they're like, but you're a girl, and I'm like, okay, so does that confirm what kind of skill I have because I'm a girl? So I had to come up with my own niche. So I have a hashtag, the DJ that dances. I literally get off the decks when I play and I dance. Yes, I do twerk sometimes. So I had to be the DJ that dances and be known, that girl DJ who also dances. So that helped in promoting me as a DJ. Other than that, I had to beg, my nigga. Like, I had to beg. Oh my gosh. I had to work for free for a couple of years, and I'd be like, okay, just exposure. It's okay, don't pay me. I'll bring myself, I'll buy my own food. Just put me on the damn flyer. So it started off like that, and over time, things started happening naturally. And I remember this was a big deal for me. In 2011, I was watching a reggae show on DSTV when not everyone had DSTV. And then I get a call. It's Jasid. I'm like, Jasid. So I answer, like, hi, is this Teedo? Yes, it is. This is Jasid. I'm like, stop kidding. Please, whoever this is, stop joking around. He's like, it's Jasid from Baseline African Storm. I'm like, huh? Okay. And then I froze for a second, held the phone because there was no mute. Started saying. And then I'm like, okay, hi. He's like, okay, give me a mixtape. We want to put you on the slots at Baseline, and it's always been my dream. Like, Jasid and Admiral are the pioneers of reggae dancehall music in South Africa. And for me, that was like the biggest day of my life. I wish I could remember the date though. And one, I don't know how to make a mixtape. How I used to make mixtapes back in the day was listening to their show, take a cassette, stop it at a point, and then so that there's no gap of silence, the next song that I like, when it comes on, I press record again. Pirates.
Oh.
So that's how I started my first mixtape.
So you recorded their shows and you turned that into a mixtape
Well,
without mixing.
no, I'm explaining my mixtape experience. Yeah, actually. Now that I think about it, yes.
Wow.
So when he asked for a mixtape, I'm like, okay, Jack, yikes, what am I gonna do? It's that time, virtual DJ. I have no idea how to use virtual. I still don't have an idea how to use virtual DJ, guys, without my Serato. I still don't know how people do it. They amaze me. I'm like, how do you do that? It's like magic. No headphones, nothing, but you mix. Nice. So I tried to use virtual DJ. It was the crappiest mixtape I've ever made, but it got me the job.
No.
So I still play at Baseline every Thursday, 10 till 12. Reggae,
Marketing.
of course.
So, Euphonik, you obviously, like you said, that was the thing that you got from promoters, where you had to deal with them via SMS, run to the bank, check if they've deposited. How has that changed to the present time?
Okay, so now my booking process is basically fully automated. You go to my website, you fill in a bookings form, it hits the email address, and then back end at the office we use a system called Overture, which basically like you once off add the promoter or the person that's booking you, you add the venue once off. And then it basically like you drop down menu, you add the dates, you add the time that they want you to play, the price, and then it auto-populates contracts, it auto-populates invoices, and then sets reminders that like to the promoter that within 48 hours X must happen without you having to do anything. So we just wait for FNB in contact to let us know whether it's confirmed or not.
So there's no more communication. Is it on?
There is communication. You see, like the challenge in South Africa is that, like, you can get the book. Like, getting the booking is easy, but it's everything that's around the booking that's difficult. So, like, promoters don't like doing landed fees. They prefer to book the flight for you, book the accommodation. They prefer to take control of that. You also have to phone, follow up, double check that the production that you've sent them is what you're going to find on the day. And naturally, everyone's like, yes, this will be done. Because, like, and I don't know what the issue is. I think it's more a mindset thing that once I've paid for you, like, you belong to me for that hour. And however, whenever, whatever, like, you're going to have to deal with whatever's there. So, I mean, like, technically speaking, like, I ask for 3 CDJs and a Pioneer mixer, and you get then there's 2 CDJs, and like I need 3 CDJs to DJ because of the way I mix. But then when you explain that, they're like, but if Oskido was here last night and he could work here, why can't you? You know, so like it's also like the difficulty of trying to explain to people, like every single promoter that you deal with, that like this is how I work, this is what I expect, this is what is an international standard. I mean, like also like from a technical point of view, we've got issues where like in South Africa, like the standard is the CDJ 350, which is like by no means like any DJ's preferred CD player, but every venue you go to, that's what they have. So trying to change the venues and the promoters to get the equipment that you want them to have is also a big challenge. But then you also need to understand that like a small pub or bar, it's difficult for them to afford CDJ 2000s, which are 45,000 Rand per unit at the moment. So it's easier for them to buy the CDJ 350. But because you're a local talent and naturally, like anyone else, you look towards the biggest markets for inspiration and for what the benchmark is. We benchmark on CDJ 2000s, a Pioneer DJ M900, and that's what you want to work on, you know, and that's what you practice on, and that's what you know, but when you work into the workspace, it's a completely different story. So it's also like being able to like curb your international ambitions and benchmarks to understanding that the local market is this, and there's nothing that you can do about changing it. Because I've also gone through spells where I've said to guys, listen, if this isn't the way I've asked for, I'm not going to play. And it hasn't changed. Like you end up walking away from every gig that you were meant to play at, because they're not going to change for a few when the majority is still like happy to play on a CDJ 350, which is a difficult thing to do when you're a professional. It's almost like a live act. Instead of using this mic, they give you a lapel mic to perform with. Like, it's almost impossible, you know? So, yeah.
Culoe, are you also fully automated, or you're still using the phone?
I'm using what?
You're still getting calls and a landline and the fax and...
No, basically it's everything is via email and the website. Similar system to what Euphonik uses, yeah.
And then do you also get those challenges where you've sent your tech rider, where you've asked them to put them in a certain way, and it's not like that, especially here at home?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think Temba has covered a bit of it, you know. Like, I think it's another challenge I think I would cover on is, you know, some venues are very passionate about their own setup, you know, their own sound and how they want the night to progress, you know. So you find that some venues have been around for 20 years and they've been using a rotary mixer, you know, which literally does not move from the legendary decks, you know. So sometimes you get somebody like me where I'm like, hey, I'm a new techno kid. I want to play with the Pioneer AIM 900 or whatever, you know, because I want to use the mixes, etc., etc. And then they'll be like, no, we do not use that sort of mix at our place because it affects the sound. As a matter of fact, Pioneer has a shitty sound, you know, so we don't want to compromise on the sound, you know, of the night. So you found that there's been also a great deal of humbleness and compromise on my side, you know, to say, okay, cool, I've never played with a rotary mixer before, but I shall educate myself how to play, you know, with this particular mixer on the night, you know, which is also like a new challenge now, you do know what I'm saying? Because, and some venues you go there, there's literally custom mixers that you can't find anywhere in the world, you know. So, and just because I have a great deal of respect for the venue or the place or the people behind it, I'm just like, okay, cool, you know, since my main commodity is playing the sound that I'm playing, I won't be using any too much effects or anything like that anyway, so let me try work on the night with this new thing. And you find that at the end of the night, I've educated myself on a new piece of equipment, and yeah, that's just how it's been for me.
Wow. Okay, not taking away from those specific instances,
Sure.
I'd just like to pose a question to all three of you. Then why don't you guys go to these gigs with your own equipment?
It's risky.
Sorry?
It's risky.
How is it risky? You got there?
You take your own equipment. Okay, well, on my part,
Yes.
I travel to all my gigs alone.
And you have a laptop, and you said you use
Yeah.
it. So that is okay.
Yeah, I can punch a nigga, but when I'm carrying too many
Oh.
things,
Okay,
I can't do anything. But in a sense of breakage, so what I do is that I use USBs, I use Scratch Live, I use controller. So I carry all three things. So if I know what I want my set to sound like, I back up my set on my USBs, because I've been to venues where my controller doesn't, the mixer doesn't connect with my controller. I can't connect my SL3, and then I have to use USBs. So I use all forms of technology. And now imagine if I had to carry CDJs with
Yeah,
all that
it
on
means
my
you
own.
are okay with the 350s.
Yo, the 350s, no one is ever okay with
Oh.
the 350s, guys. We just accept.
And
You
then-
send your tech rider. It's like I would send my tech rider and say, can the booth monitor be connected to the mixer, not to the entire booth? They are okay with killing your eardrums. They don't respect that you need, like, I really don't raise my booth that much. I can hear properly. I just need it slightly at a certain level so that I hear what I'm doing.
Okay.
But you find venues that connect it to the entire sound and it's right here in your ear, you can't even focus. And it's like, I can't think when there's so much noise coming into this ear.
Okay, and you, Culoe? Why don't you just, buy your own 2000s and a mixer and have it in a coffin, pull it in, connect to the master, play?
First of all, I hate airport security checks. I don't mind saying that because it's a process where I don't know, you just feel overpowered by unnecessary energies. I understand it's for security and things like that. So now adding on to carrying huge technical equipment, and each and every country you go to, you have to take out and explain what this thing is. And
No. Asiko International, we are here.
Yeah,
Let's leave there because we know the problems we have here. Euphonik highlighted them, that especially locally, the economies of scale are not the same. I mean, you have a small pub in Pitreti for somewhere the last end of Soweto or in Tembisa somewhere where they cannot afford a 45,000 rand unit.
Same,
so I'm just
same
talking
situation
here.
locally. Yeah. I've done it. I've carried my own equipment, and I've come across the same problem. Yeah. It becomes like a huge admin sort of situation when you are a traveler, when you're traveling, whether it's using the airport or whether it's just driving. Okay. And also I think any live and technical production event, should have as their primary concerns, catering to any rider that is needed to make the show happen. Or as I said, I've had my own ways of sort of like working in the game. As I said, I can play with multiple equipments, so I've learned different kinds of mixes through the process or the approach of trying to educate myself, how to use different kinds of equipments, because my main concern is playing the music, and using the music to sort of like tell my own story in the show, and that's what matters, I think I'm the type of DJ, that even if you have a rotary mixer there, I can still do my thing, or if you have another type of mixer, as long as it can mix and it works properly, the sound is coming out clear and crystal. So that's you have my commitment.
Oh, so yeah, that DJ Euphonik is talking about that. No, but Culoe used these things last week. Okay.
not necessarily, but there are those basic things that I would require. I wouldn't be able to work if I get there 4 or 3 or 2 CDJs are not working. No. I wouldn't be able to perform. And to tell you something really ridiculous, I've been to a gig in Mpumalanga before, in some picnic, and literally one CDJ was not working. And so, and people don't know that. Like, the crowd expects you to do your magic, because they see the decks, and I'm just like, okay, cool, but this thing is not working. And only God knows how I performed an hour set in that gig.
And you, Euphonik, why don't you take your own stuff instead of turning gigs down and...
Look, I think the dynamics of South Africa is that, first of all, like in a night, on a normal night, like I'll probably do like 2 to 3 shows. So like I'm in and out of those gigs. Like I come, I do my thing, and I leave. So the challenge then with bringing your own stuff is that like it needs to be set up. There isn't a proper technical crew to set it up there, because also it's not just as simple as unplugging and plugging. Like there needs to be a proper sound technician there. So we lack sound technicians at all the venues. It's a time frame thing, and also like the promoters and the club owners and the venues like aren't really accommodating for you to come and just change the setup. So the bigger global issue here is that we do not have a set benchmark for this is what the bare minimum of any DJ setup should look like, and it's also like it's a economics of scale thing, that like a CDJ 2000 is 45,000 rand just for the one. A CDJ 350 is like I think 10 or 13 grand for one. So the venue guys know that like you only come once a month. Like they'll have maybe a headline DJ come once a week, and why must they change the entire setup for someone that's only in essence there 4 hours? So the DJs, the resident DJs, and whoever else plays there is okay with that equipment. So in their minds, if this guy is okay and you're a big name DJ, you should be okay with working on this stuff as well. You know, so it's like having to drop your standards as well and saying, I must make do with what I've got.
So obviously now we have an issue with the tech rider. Do you also find it disturbing or not, especially when you play internationally, like out of the country? I'm not talking maybe Swaziland, I'm not talking Zimbabwe, I'm not talking Botswana. They're fairly similar to us. But I'm saying now in Europe, in the US, where now the tech rider is proper, and on top of that, there's proper lighting. Yeah. Does that disturb you that, number one, our clubs are very, very dark, and there is no lighting to maybe enhance your performance, so to speak?
So I'll put it this way, man. I think the thing that we complain about here in South Africa is arguably the biggest gift to any DJ, and also like the biggest curse. So globally, if you compare toe for toe DJs, South Africans are the best DJs. Doesn't matter where you go, anywhere around the world. Technically, as a DJ that plays music, we're the best. And part of that reason is that we are technically sound because the venues that we play at, people are focused on you, what you are doing, and the music. So they aren't the distractions of LED monitors, of pyrotechnics, of like, you know, so like the majority of the gigs that we play at, like people are there listening and watching you. Whereas overseas, there's too many distractions that distract you away from what the guy's actually doing. So, like, from what I've seen is that that aspect of it has helped South Africans focus more on the craft and the technicalities of being a DJ. And when you pair us up with the visuals, it makes you a far better DJ than anyone on a global scale. So it's got its pros and it does have its cons. Like, obviously, like when you're here back home, you'd like to play at the same level and at the same magnitude as what you would be playing at in Europe, but it's just not possible. So, like, yeah, I think it's helped us in one way, and yeah, like helped us be amazing DJs in one way, but also, like, if you aren't a DJ that is ambitious enough to want to travel, to want to break global markets, it dumbs down like your potential because you're so used to this benchmark being so low that you don't even think at that scale.
And for you, Culoe, does it also have the same dynamics whereby you are in a club and there's lasers everywhere, there's pyros everywhere, and you know it also just gives you that rush, and then you come back home, one, you have to deal with the tech, two, you're in just this dark place?
I think there's similarities in terms of whether, I don't care which club it is in the world, it's usually dark anyway. There's usually a dark atmosphere.
Oh, it means you guys are lying to us on Instagram, eh? With the photos.
Look, I mean, I've never been the guy to focus on other distractions in any venue. I've always been focused on what I'm doing, and I believe in being resourceful, and I think the same thing that we look at as a problem here at home, I think, as Temba said, it has made us stronger artists in one sense or the other. You know, when this is all you have, this is all you have. You're gonna, even if it's that small, you gotta use that small thing in a great way. Okay. You know, you have to use what you have to the best of its abilities. You know, that's how I've always looked at it. As I said, and also I'm just another very curious being. You know, at each and every place I go to, I'm willing to educate myself and whatever it is that's going on there. If there's a new equipment, okay, cool, let me try this. You know, and I think it has helped me to make me much of a stronger DJ as well. And also, I don't look at our situation here in South Africa as a problem that much. You know, I feel like we've got our own ecosystem going on, just like any other country in the world. And I think we're doing well. We're progressing. We're learning new things. We're playing internationally, and we're coming back home. We're trying to improve the situation. You know, so I don't think it's too much of a problem. You know, the music is coming out, people are playing, people are earning money. You know, so it's an ecosystem that is currently active, and I think we can just be grateful and work towards building it better.
Okay, no, nice. Teedo, you also touched on security, that it's a risk and stuff. Nowadays, social media has pushed a lot of talent and acts to move around with photographers. And how is security then around that? If you're one of those people that travel with the photographer, well, I'm assuming and hoping that you are. How has that now shifted the dynamics of the security part of things?
Traveling with a photographer for me just does add that bit of extra security. But then I get to the security and they have an issue with my photographer. So it's like, trying to get my photographer in the venue is an added administration task.
So it means this was not
So-
communicated prior, or?
No, it was. It's just some organizers overlook, like, unfortunately, I'm not as advanced as Culoe no Euphonik. My bookings still go via email. I still have to send them a booking form. I fill it in and they have to fill in the rest. And I specify what it comes with my tag rider. And I specify I'm gonna bring a sound guy, a sound engineer, depending on the scale of the gig. Cause I don't wanna get there and have glitches, so I have my own sound engineer. So I'm gonna bring my sound engineer, I'm gonna bring my camera person.
Okay.
And I specify if I need passes, you tell me in advance so that I collect or request someone to collect. Or either I also have a booking agent who does that for me. And they'll say, no, she will just get to the venue, speak to whoever, and everything will be fine. And then you get to the venue, they give you issues. So, which is why sometimes when it's locally, I look at where I'm going and I opt to not take a camera guy or sound guy. And then, obviously as a girl, I end up being in a vulnerable situation. I don't know how long I've lasted like this without a taser or pepper spray, but I have. I've punched a few people. For security reasons, not for violence. But yeah, so you have to kind of learn self-defense, one, as a girl. Two, you get there, it's either maybe, even if you have your accreditations, the security gives you issues because you're a girl and they don't believe that you're on the lineup. You're a girl, how can you be a DJ? You get cross-questioned for being a DJ first. So it's weird for me. I don't know. I think it's easier for the guy. Sometimes I wish I was the guy.
Culoe, do you also have the same problems, security-wise?
Oh, well, this is how I look at security. I mean, each entity has a security in place for the interest and safety of the venue. You know, so irregardless of whoever you are, you know, you gotta go through the security process. I don't care whether you're using the back door or the front door. For me, it's always been the same. I mean, you go to other countries, like in America, for instance, you know, you learn that, you know, it doesn't matter whether you're the star DJ of the night. You know, security is security. You still got to go through the process. And once you've been verified, you get the benefits of the same security, you know. So imagine now I go there to the door, I'm saying, hey, I'm Culoe, I'm live on the night. And the bouncer is like, yeah, but we were not told, you know, that you're going to come through alone or whatever, you know. So, but if you just come and humble yourself and go through the process, you might find that everything else goes smoother after that, you know. In fact, the guys will look after you as part of the security of the place. You know, you're an important commodity with regards to what's happening, like on the night, you know. So I think a security process, you're just going to have to be a law-abiding citizen or foreigner, or for whatever the case may be, you know. So yeah, security for me just requires you to be on the ground and just go through the process and go there and do your thing.
Euphonik?
Like from what I've seen is that depending on the show and who's putting the show on, things either are going to run smoothly or they're going to be pear-shaped from start to finish. So like for instance, in South Africa, there's more shows being put on by people that aren't bona fide promoters than the latter. So like you find proper production houses, proper events companies that like know what they're doing and know that like this is how we're going to treat the artists, this is how we're going to treat the pantsers that are coming to the event. When you get the other guys who like during the week he's a lawyer, he's got some spare cash, he knows the guy that owns venue X and he can book you, like that's where all the problems start because they don't know systematically how to run an event. So that's where you come into like issues like security not being the way it should be. Like, so for instance, when you get to the venue, you want to be able to have someone to show you where to park, someone to escort you inside the venue. These guys will be like, yeah, this is my brother, he's gonna show you to the DJ box. And it's like, but if there's a stampede here or something happens, like, is this guy gonna be able to, like, help with the security? And the case is not. So, like, over and above just you worrying about what you're gonna do in the night, you still have to worry about, like, vetting the promoter and who's doing the show before, during, and after the show. So there's just, like, a lot of things to think about. Like, the promoter needs to know that over and above your fee, what else am I in for? So you'll send it, like mine is sent with pictures, and it's sent with model numbers, and it's sent with, like, what the table must look like, how high the table must be, like, where must the monitor sit, and it's part and parcel of the contract. So when you're going through the contract pages, that production rider's in there, and the promoters sign it to say they acknowledge that this is what you expect and this is what you should find on the day. After they've paid their deposits and finalized their payments, and you're just now setting up, like, you're coming to the venue to come and play, we still follow up to check, is the production going to be the way it is? And typically most people say yes until you show up on the day and it's not. So, like, now I show up with the contract and I'm like, who signed this? Because this person said it would look like this and this is what it looks like. So therefore I cannot perform. Because also, like, I like to sound a specific way, and I know what equipment will help me sound that way, because people will hear you for wherever, your mixtapes, your radio shows, or wherever, and hear something, and then expect to hear the same thing when you're performing live. And now you can't deliver on that because they've cut corners on the equipment. So it becomes a challenge there.
Okay. How do you negotiate? Let's go to how do they negotiate with you, because now you have an automated system?
Do you walk into G-Star and negotiate on the price of jeans? You don't, you know, like, I think what we all need to understand and respect about everyone, and just because we're artists and just because you can speak to me, it doesn't mean I'm not running a business. And the headline is that as a DJ, as a musician, more than the entertainment value that you sell, we sell time. You know, so when I say to you 12 to 1 on Friday night, it's 12 to 1 on Friday night, not 12 until 2:30. You know what I mean? And, like, unfortunately, that's what it is. If not, then book for the whole night. You know, I know it sounds very harsh, but, like, the reality is that people are running businesses, people have got kids to feed, bonds to pay for, and everyone's running the same way that you're running a business, you know? Like, you charging people at the gate, you've got your own way of making money, I've got my own way of making money. And if I show up to your show on time, that's me showing you the respect that you deserve, and me being allowed to do my thing and leave on time is me. You should be able to show me, like, the same amount of respect. If I'm playing at 12, I show up like 11:45. I'm standing in the DJ box. I tell the guy, listen, I'm here. When you're ready to let me play, I'm here.
There is a lot of big artists who are #1 in the charts, and they just don't have shows. You know, there's a lot of artists that are not in the charts at all that are just having shows. You know, so they've managed to build their name in the show space, you know, not in the chart space. So I think it's also, you have to consider things like brand placement, you know, and also where do you envision yourself being more active and revered, you know. So it's something that I think you have to address within yourself when you're sitting at home. I don't know who you pray to as well, you know. It's also, it's one of those things, you know, where you need to see yourself in a certain space and work towards it and focus all your energy on that space.
And then helping the up and coming.
And then in terms of helping the up and coming artists, personally, I've opened up my label, you know, to guys that want to submit music or sounds that are on the frequency that I'm doing, and we're just trying to do our bit in contributing and getting guys out there, especially in the international space. There is a new room right now internationally where people are looking for this Afro versus Eurocentric African sound, and that's the space we've been working on for the past few years. And I think that's what I'm doing personally. I've just opened up the label and to guys like there's a guy from Eskawi, you know, Mr. Joe. His stuff is like gom, but mixed with like a psychedelic kind of vibe. And I've always envisioned it working in the club spaces that we're in. It simply started by me taking his music and playing it in clubs, and people asking me, "Hey, what is this? This is dope." And yeah, and I was like, "Okay, cool. This can have room in my label and for its vision." Simply doing that, the same tune is getting played by DJs that I look up to in the world, and he's getting a lot of attention. And yeah, just by simply doing those things, we've marketed him to a certain space. So that's what I'm doing personally at the moment.
Great. And then last 30 seconds from each. What are you doing? The question from Tlengiwe. What are you doing for the community where you come from?
Okay, so
30 seconds, quickly.
I'll try to summarize it in 30 seconds. So I have a workshop that I'm doing. The first one is actually on the 2nd of November, which is having a conference.
Gonje, where's that community?
It's going to be at Constitutional Hill. So I'm doing it at Constitutional Hill,
Okay.
but I'm from Soweto.
Okay.
So I'm basically opening it up for everyone. So the conference is going to discuss how to put your music out there, what steps you need to take as a music producer and as a musician to actually get your music registered, copywritten, and protected so that it doesn't get stolen, and what platforms you can use for yourself to market yourself as an artist, producer, etc. So yeah, I'm gonna have Samro there, Risa there, so all the important people that need to talk to you as an upcoming artist who wants to establish themselves.
Okay.
So it's going to happen. That's what I'm doing to give back, basically.
Okay. Culoe?
Yeah, basically, personally, we're still working on something quite special for Eshowe, which is where I come from, in northern KwaZulu-Natal. And I think for me, it's not just about helping up-and-coming musicians. It's just about doing community work and contributing back to the people where you came from. So which is a subject that I care about dearly. Unfortunately, I don't get too much time to be working on such things because of my current schedule. But we are working on the vision of doing some special things of giving back. Yeah.
Okay. Temba, Euphonik?
Personally, look, we're in a country where the majority of the youth in South Africa expect things to just land on their laps on a silver platter. We're in the information age. If you want to be a DJ, you can Google how to be a DJ. So personally, I don't help the guy that says, "I want to be a DJ, please help me find headphones." Like, I have no time of day for you, but I have all the time of day for someone that says, "Listen, I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just need that additional push," and like, I'm rocking. I help those people on a daily basis.